Hey everybody, welcome back to Chortle Cast. I'm one of your hosts, Jake, and with me as always, in a very different way, is the Stream King, the Far Cry guy, the art teacher with a scarf, Steven. Say hey, buddy.
I look more like a member of Smash Mouth.
The Smash Mouth comes to Smash Brothers edition. That is what Steven is right now.
Hi.
If you're an audio
I'm a cartoon
listener,
now. Hi, guys.
Steven is a cartoon now. If you're an audio listener, you have no idea what's going on or what we're talking about. But if you are a YouTube, Facebook viewer, you of course are probably wondering equally as much, why the heck is this? Are they doing the podcast in Animal Crossing? And the simple answer is because I wanted to. But the long answer is because I wanted to. I just had the idea as we were setting up because I had finished eating and I was like, oh, let me go see if any of these golden roses that you can see below me, let me see if any of them are here. And so
They are here.
I went to get them. There we go. I stopped clapping. Oh no, I also cut my camera. Sorry. There we go. All right, and we're back. Went to pick those, and I was like, "Ooh, we should just do the podcast in Animal Crossing." So I told Steven, and his only question was why? Why would we do that?
I had other questions, but he restricted me to only one question.
Yeah, I only gave.
So my question was simply why.
My question is simply why. So anyway, we're here. Steven has his character that he threw together. I gave Steven I gave you all of the clothes you are wearing right now.
Yep. You did, that is true.
I tried to put a Chortle Games logo behind us, but I didn't angle it.
You cannot see that at all.
No,
I just noticed.
I tried to angle it one way. If I raised us where we were like this, you can see it a little bit better, but then you can't really see Steven's face because his hat's obscuring it.
Well, it's like a normal podcast. Do I need to take the hat off?
No, the hat's fine. I'm gonna leave it like this, so that's
Okay.
That's where we're at. But anyway, just thought it would be fun, would be a little different. So if you're an audio listener, you may want to go back and watch to see what this was all about. So anyway, just a fun time. Gotta enjoy the times in Animal Crossing while we can. But anyways, ladies and gentlemen,
Is something happening to Animal Crossing?
It's gonna go away. It's gonna just fall off the face of the planet at some point. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know why we need to enjoy Animal Crossing. I need to enjoy Animal Crossing more, Steven. That's where I'm at. Okay, that's why I'm here.
Yeah, fair enough.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is of course Chortle Cast, the official podcast of Chortle Games, where we talk about video games, TV shows, movies, anime, whatever the heck we want to talk about. We've got a great show for you this week. A little bit of a catch-up week. We're just going to be hanging out in Animal Crossing, talking about what we've been doing over the holiday break. Everyone's starting to get back into the full swing of things. So we're just going to kind of catch up. We talked all about the games that we were most excited for this year in the last podcast, which didn't leave us a ton of room to talk about what we've been playing over the holiday. So for me, the holiday is always a time to catch up on a backlog or get around to some of the stuff I missed over the year. So I thought that would be a fun conversation. And again, since it's such a light day, I was like, let's do the podcast in Animal Crossing because why not? But I need to dedicate a room in my house to be the podcast room.
Yeah.
And we should do this again sometime. If you guys prefer this to our actual faces, I'm open to this just being how we did the podcast if y'all really wanted it. But anyway, we got to get Steven some emotes.
Yeah, I have no emotion.
Steven literally has no emotion. I was like, Steven, press R2 and it should bring up a wheel of stuff you can do. And he was like, nothing happens for me. So
I said, Jake, I have no emotion. You were like, it's funny. I was like, no, literally, I can't feel anything. My character has none. He can't express.
He has no expression. So anyway, that's funny. But yeah, anyway, so we'll jump in. We're going to talk about what we've been playing. So Steven, I'll give you a little time to think on through what all you've been playing. I'll start here. Animal Crossing. I've been playing some more Animal Crossing. I pretty much fell out of Animal Crossing. I'm trying to think of what the last. I didn't. I played through Easter.
It was around the time Last of Us came out.
So June. Yeah, sometime in the summer. That's about right. Yeah. Sometime in the summer, I just fell out. I did have a really good system where I woke up in the morning and I did a bunch of random chores, and then over lunch I would come in and like see what all the shops have, and just kind of do some little knick-knacky things here and there, but I wasn't like consistently playing. And at some point I had like a really strong record of like days logged, and I was really proud of that. But then I missed one day, and I forget why, but I missed one day, and pretty much once I missed that day, I stopped, and I just
Yep.
stopped. And I always said like, oh, when Halloween comes, I'll come back, and then it was Halloween, never came back, didn't do anything with Halloween, and I'm so upset with myself because I'm now that I'm back into it, I'm seeing all this cool stuff that happened over Halloween, and I'm like, ugh. I could have had so much fun with this, but I never
Right.
thought to come back. But anyway, so I missed Halloween. I missed Thanksgiving. Technically, well, I guess the Christmas event is over, but I am still getting to experience a little bit of winter in the game, so that's very fun and different. But the kind of ironic thing is I'm about to circle back to the time that I started playing Animal Crossing. So like now that I'm back in it, I'm just going to experience the same exact seasons I've already
Yep.
experienced. So I'm curious what they're going to do to make these the second annual event, seasonal events, more interesting for people who have already been here. I'm kind of hoping they'll add at least new items. So like maybe
Right.
we can get some recipes if you missed one, but like they'll add one or two more new ones.
Surely they will.
Like there's a cherry blossom festival that happens sometime in March, because I remember it was one of the first events that happened in the game. And you notice those cherry blossom bushes that I had in front of the house, Steven. That's
Yeah.
it's where those came from. It was so hard to get recipes for that. And so I only have a couple, but I have a ton of those petals, those cherry blossom petals. So as soon as I have recipes, I've already got a bunch of petals to start making stuff. I just didn't have any good recipes, but I
Right.
want to figure that out and do all that. So it'll be exciting. I'm excited to see what else they're going to do with this game. But I jumped back into it on New Year's, and we actually we used Animal Crossing as our countdown for like our very small, socially distanced New Year's Eve party. We had like just a couple folks over, and we were all like, "Man, we're gonna miss the ball drop if we're not careful." And I was just like, "Oh, let's just turn on Animal Crossing so we can see the countdown." And so that was kind of fun.
So just to interject here, we didn't watch the ball drop either. Like our New Year's Eve was super low key. We went to hang out with Cody and Tegan for a little bit.
Nice.
That was nice seeing them again. And then we got back to the house, and Anna was about to go to bed, and she was like, "Oh, hey, it's almost midnight. Hold on, let me find a countdown." So she found a countdown that was just all these different, like it was basically doing a countdown for all of the different time zones. And so we tuned in on that one, but while it was counting down to midnight for our time zone, it was playing a Chinese version of 12 Days of Christmas. So we rang in the new year to a Chinese man singing 12 Days of Christmas.
That is amazing. That's really, really funny.
Yeah.
Well, the Animal Crossing party was pretty fun. All my villagers were like at resident services, and everybody was wearing like suits, and they had like little champagnes that you could hold, and we had firecrackers, and we had sparklers, which were a lot of fun. And it was a good time. It was a big time. And so I just kind of danced around with my villagers, and it was really nice. And it did, again, it was like, man, I wish I had spent more time throughout the year on this, because Animal Crossing is one of those games that I would relate it, and this is just stick with me here. It reminds me of the feeling I had playing Astro's Playroom. And what I mean by that is when you're playing Astro's Playroom and you come across something you recognize, and you're like, oh my gosh, this is. Oh wow, I remember Sly Cooper, and like, oh, that was so cool. It was very nostalgic, and it just kind of gives you like a warm, fuzzy feeling. Or like even when you find old PlayStation stuff, like PlayStation artifacts, and it's like, oh man, the PS2. I remember when I got that. I remember why I got that. And it just kind of gives you that warm, fuzzy feeling inside. That is how Animal Crossing is very much. And I wish I had taken more time throughout the year to utilize that and all that. But anyway, really enjoyed it. I've been playing it since then. I actually we're right in front of we're right next to my house in Animal Crossing on Chortland. If you're a video watcher, that sounds so weird to say. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see
one of them there video watchers.
Looks like someone quietly left. Did you turn off your system?
Oh, nope. Sorry.
Wow. Okay. So what just happened was Steven, his Switch went to sleep and it kicked him out of the island. But on the upside, Steven, we did learn that you have an emote. Do you want to show?
I have one emotion. Fear.
That's the best he could do. So anyway,
that is the best I could do.
Just to put a pin in Animal Crossing. It's good. I'm gonna try to be better this year to get the full experience of it. So
if we actually are gonna do this for the podcast on a regular basis, I'll actually try learning this game. I bought it for Anna for Christmas. Mm-hmm. And the only reason I even made a character was because you guys needed me to use it for online so that you could give her free stuff.
Yeah.
So
that was pretty much the gist of it. We really needed. Well, you have the online, and this is stupid to me. I don't understand this. I don't understand why. So it's your Switch. The Switch is registered to you, and you have Nintendo Online. Yep. But Anna had to create her own profile on your Switch to use, and she doesn't have access to the internet unless she's playing as you. Or she has access to the internet, just not online.
Not
the online service. Yeah. Which is just so strange to me, but whatever. Anyway, enough about Animal Crossing. I do think it would be fun. Steven, you had kind of mentioned like we could put the dodo code in the Discord or something, and like if people wanted to come be a studio audience, we could do something like that. I think that could be really cool.
I would enjoy that. That'd be fun.
Yeah, I think it could be very fun. Okay, well then, do you want to talk about a game, Steven, or do you want me to talk about Cyberpunk?
You talk about Cyberpunk.
Okay,
because a lot of this is probably going to be just me chiming in because I have not gotten to play a lot over the holiday.
Right.
I pretty much just played games I've already talked about.
Mm-hmm.
And also this past week, I didn't really get to play anything except for what was on my Switch because I was on the road.
Right.
So yeah, you're probably going to be doing most of the talking, but I'll probably have a lot to say because you're talking about Cyberpunk and Hades, and I've definitely got a lot to say about Hades.
Right. So yeah, I want to talk about Cyberpunk a little bit. I'm gonna try not to be super spoilery. However, I do want to kind of give almost a final verdict from me on the game. But I'm going to try not to get into specifics. I'm going to try to speak very generally about the game. And I'm going to talk about endings, but I'm not going to be super specific about them. Like I just want to speak generally about how I was a little disappointed by how the endings work. But anyway, if any of that, if you're trying to be just completely blind to Cyberpunk whenever you do play it, I understand that. So
lower your expectations, but also
lower your expectations, but also I understand. Yeah. So yeah. But yeah, Cyberpunk. So if you've been watching on the channel, I've actually started I'm doing a full playthrough of the Corpo life path. I'm sticking just to the main story stuff. I'm trying not to get lost in like side missions or anything like that. I've done a couple on stream just to kind of help level us up so that I don't get completely wasted. But I kind of know exactly what skills and points and particularly there's some quick hacks that I'm gunning for, and once we have those, we can really just plow through the game, and we're not going to have any issues whatsoever. There's this, just a caveat onto hacking. There's this really cool hack called System Reset that basically knocks out any combatant. And if you upgrade that to a legendary quick hack, it auto, if you use it once, it'll jump to another enemy nearby. And if you upgrade your hacking tree, you can make that range a little bit wider. And so that thing can be pretty devastating when you can incapacitate two enemies at any power level higher than you. You can just instantly incapacitate them. That's pretty quick. And obviously, the higher your hacking level and the higher your quick hacking level, the speed at which you can do that is also pretty crazy later on.
I think for my character that I made, I did basically pistols, crafting, and quick hacks, and I think that was like a sweet spot for me.
Yeah,
because that's three really, really powerful things.
Yeah, I'm very, my corpo build that I'm making right now is very similar to that. I've spec'd, the only thing I have touched is reflexes, intelligence, and crafting. So hacking, blades are actually in reflexing as well. So that's a factor there. But yeah, that's a pretty powerful tree. I would love to learn more about the cool skill tree and attribute, because I spec'd into it just a little bit. But the 2 points that I put into it were my biggest regrets about the game.
Yeah.
So
it's basically on kill procs and stealth. That's basically all it is.
Right.
Andrew, my brother, who's the only other person that I know that has played Cyberpunk significantly,
right,
he made a super chunky tank build that uses a lot of cool so that he can get a lot of stuff from kills while he's fighting up close.
The thing I like about how I've played the game is that system reset thing. I think it's really funny because I'll just walk into a room and I'll just look at somebody and they'll die. Yep. And I feel like if I was somebody who saw me in the game, I feel like that would put so much terror in their eyes. They just see my glowing red eyes coming for them, and it's like, oh no, he's hacking us. He's gonna kill us all. But anyway, but there's also some other really powerful stuff you can get from quick hacks. Like there's one called Contagion that I got towards the end of my playthrough. It's not a hard one to get, but I just never felt the need to use it.
I was gonna say I've had that one for a while.
Yeah. I had it, and you can, again, in the hacking skill tree, you can upgrade quick hacks to, if a quick hack can spread, you can make it spread up to, I think it's 3 or 4 times. But if it's a legendary version of that hack, that automatically gives it 1 transfer. So it can get really crazy. So like Contagion is one that does that, and so I had a legendary version of Contagion. And I had that upgrade to spread to 3 other people. So I would hack 1 person and 5 people would start to be poisoned. And so anyway, hacking, I really like how you can use hacking as a combat thing.
Yeah.
And Watch Dogs, one of the things I kind of was always frustrated about Watch Dogs is I only used the cameras for surveillance. But like I've done several missions where I hacked a security camera. And then you can actually, once you hack 1 security camera, you're on that network and you can switch to any camera that's on the network. I would get on a camera and just start system resetting every person I saw on that camera, then switch to the next one. And then eventually I would have just cleared out the whole space and just waltz in and do whatever I needed to. But anyway, really enjoying that. I've beaten the game, and I've beaten all 4 of the endings that I know of. The only one that I can't do, it's like the quote unquote secret ending, where basically instead of teaming up with one of the groups that you've made friends with along this journey, to take on the final mission. You just
Mm-hmm.
do it yourself, um, which sounds like a really badass thing to do, and I kind of wanted to do it. But it gives you one or two of the other endings. So it's just kind of funny how that all works out. It's
Yeah.
basically just a challenge to do the last mission. But all of that to say, I have beaten the game several different ways, and I can't decide which ending I like better. There's definitely some I know the ones that I didn't like, and
Right.
I don't want to get into the specifics of those. But what I do want to talk about is just kind of my disappointment with how the endings work in this game, and it leads to a deeper issue I have with the game, but I was just disappointed with the endings and just how little how I played the game mattered.
Yep.
Um,
It's Mass Effect 3 all over again.
well, it's just kind of crazy, and I should have seen it. I mean, it was basically
The writing was on the wall.
the writing was on the wall, and and the very first instance of that. If you've been watching on the live stream, or even if you want to go back and watch, you can see exactly what I'm talking about right now. I think I did it in the most recent live stream, so this part 2. Anyway, um, the very opening mission, right? You've met Jackie. Jackie gets you this big gig, right? And it's with Dex Deshawn, and you're gonna go steal the relic. Okay, the relic is the biochip that has Johnny Silverhand on it. It's the whole. It's what starts off the whole
It's
game.
the whole thing.
It's the whole thing. And so this is very beginning, so I really don't consider this spoiler at all. So you play through this mission, and one of the things is you have to meet the client who's hired you guys to steal this, and her name's Evelyn Parker. You meet with her, you do a little mission. It's where you learn to do the brain dances, and do all that kind of detective stuff. After you meet with her, though, she's like, "Hey, I want to basically cut out the middleman, Dex Deshawn. Let's just you and I do this. I
Yeah.
don't want to go through him." And so that kind of prompts this decision of, do you want to tell Dex that she wanted to cut him out, or do you want to kind of maintain your honor as a hired merc and tell Dex, and whatnot, and so that happened, and I got to the moment where you make that decision, and I paused. And I do this with a lot of RPGs that give you story choices. I'll usually Google kind of what's going to happen, what is my consequence here?
Right.
Because sometimes it's no, you can totally get away with it. It's never going to be an issue, and then other times it's going to be something way down the line that you won't know about till the end of the game that you've completely screwed over, and it's okay, why did I miss this? So I Google it. And I find a couple articles, and I went to a place that I trust, and it literally goes, yeah, this choice doesn't matter. And I was just like, what? And literally nothing comes of it. The choice doesn't matter. If you betray Evelyn and tell Dex about it, he's like, whatever, business is business. But hey, you get an extra 10% for telling me of the pay of the heist cut, right? And it's like, cool. You never get paid for the heist, so you never see that money. If you don't tell him about it, he doesn't react in any way, and you still don't get paid. So it just, none of it mattered, and it was frustrating for me. But that's exactly how the rest of the game goes. Even the romances. If you want to romance the person, all you have to do is be the right gender and pick the right options, which are usually pretty obvious because they have,
they literally have something that indicates
a romance. Yeah, there's lips,
a hand or something.
Touching is usually a safe bet if you're trying to romance that person, and so, which that's all fine. What I'm getting to is, whether you romance Pan Am or not, her clan will still help you in the final mission if you completed her quest line. And same with Rogue. If you complete Rogue's quest line, she'll help you. But then, and even beyond that, there's several other romances like Carrie, who was in Johnny Silverhand's band, Judy, who you meet very early on in the game. She's a romance option. Honestly, Pan Am made the most sense for my character, but I actually personally really liked Judy. I really liked her character.
Well, Judy's also a lesbian.
I
so-
know that's why it didn't work for my character, but I personally is what I'm saying.
Fun fact.
Oh, please.
The romance stuff, I saw an article on this.
Mhm.
The romance stuff for Judy had male voice recordings. So people were able to glitch or hack or whatever into romancing Judy as a male.
Interesting.
Mhm.
See, I always thought
Super weird.
I could go on about romances, and that gets me to River, who was one of the other people you can romance. I wish just to briefly deviate to romances. I really liked how Judy's relationship was handled with my male character, because I attempted to flirt with her, and she never got mad about it, but she was always like, "Come on, dude." Like, I'm not that into you or whatever. And we were able to be friends, and it felt really natural. River, it's incredibly awkward because as a male character, you can't romance him, but every scene is written as if you guys were a love interest.
Yep.
Like there's this really awkward dinner conversation where River's sister is like, "So, are you seeing anyone?" And River and your character both are like, "Well, we're gonna go have a beer somewhere. Like, bye. Like, this conversation's over." And it was like, you can totally tell that was written for like sexual tension or whatever. And it didn't play out to anything for me because I wasn't in that option. But it was, I don't know. Anyway, I could go on that. But anyway, that whether you become friends with River or not, if you complete his mission or not, literally doesn't matter. All it gets you is a phone call at the end of the game, like in the credits scene. And that's what all the romances get you, except for Pan Am's. I'm really curious what the game is going to be like without a Pan Am ending. Because, and I'm probably, once I beat the story, the version of the story that I need to get the last trophy, which is what I'm doing on the live stream. Once I've done that, I'll probably eventually go back and do all of like Judy's missions and romance Judy, and then do all of Pan Am's missions, but not romance her.
Right.
Because I would love to see what the quote unquote good ending is without Pan Am, because Pan Am is so heavily tied to the quote unquote good ending.
Right.
So I just don't know how that's going to work out. But anyway, all of this, what I'm getting at is I'm just so disappointed that none of your choices really mattered, because where it all comes down to, there is a very specific moment where you're sitting with Johnny and it's like, how do you want to play this? And you have like 3 or 4, there are 4 endings. But it's so stupid. You're sitting with Johnny and you have 3 decisions to make. One of them is like to just end it all there. And then one is to go with Rogue. The other is to go with Arasaka, the corporation. And then one is to go with Pan Am. And that is several different paths right there. But if you go with Rogue or Pan Am, later on, there's another decision that gets you, one of 3 endings. And so it's just very strange because it just didn't, I don't know. I was expecting more missions to matter. Like, why didn't I have the option to take on the final mission with Judy? Or like, why couldn't Judy have helped us in the final mission? Or why couldn't River have helped us in the final mission? Like, I just didn't understand what all those relationships were about.
And that's not even like a big ask. Like that's a small thing to be like, hey, the people that I had relationships should be the ones that accompany me on the mission. That's not that much deviation.
And here's another thing, and I don't know how it would have played out, but I think it would have been really, really, really interesting if they had added this. this game is perfectly built for a companion system.
Yep.
Why don't we have companions?
When I bought the game, I didn't know there weren't companions in the game until like I was an hour and a half deep into it because I went in blind because I just assumed.
I didn't think there were, but now that I've played it, I don't know why there weren't, because especially with your romanceable characters, I don't know why there wasn't an option to have them
Right.
be companions, because one of the things, Jackie is a character we've talked about, and this is if you want to call it a spoiler, they spoiled this in one of their trailers, but Jackie dies very early on in the story.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. The Corpo life path, I think I'd love to. I don't know if have you watched any of my stream of that other than when the doctors came and
No, that was pretty much the only time I watched.
Okay, great. I would wager, and I've only played the Nomad path, and I'm now playing through the Corpo path. I feel like I had a much faster connection with Jackie in the Corpo path than I did the Nomad path. Because the Nomad path, it was just like, here's this dude, we're stealing an iguana together, and when we finished, he was like, hey, you're all right, what you doing after this? And I was like, I really don't know, man. I'm trying to get into Night City. And he was like, come with me. But in the Corpo path, you've actually known Jackie since you were 7, and you guys have grown up together, are longtime friends. You took the Corpo path in life and have been trying to climb the ranks of this corporation. Jackie went with the Valentinos, this gang, and you guys work together anytime you need to put out like a hit or do anything like that. Long story short, you get kicked out of the corporation. Basically, we're going to get killed. But Jackie basically saves your freaking life. And I was just, when that happened for me, I was just like, oh, wow, Jackie just saved my life. So I don't know. I feel a much stronger connection with Jackie. But anyway, what I was getting at is I think it would be really interesting. I wish what I'm getting at really is I wish Jackie had survived a little bit longer so that I could have had more time with him, because something I think would have been really, really interesting is, Johnny Silverhand is literally in your head. So he's with you to comment on every single thing that's happening. I think it would have been really interesting if, like, for at least a couple more missions, it had been you and Jackie and Johnny. And like Johnny's commenting to you, and then you're somehow relaying that to Jackie, and like Johnny and Jackie have conversations and vice versa. But like, I think that would have been interesting even with like Panem or Judy or River or whoever, just to kind of have 2 other voices. But anyway, I don't know.
Yeah.
I just, overall, I wish there had been more connection between all these things. Like I was, Detroit Become Human is a game that we played, and we were really, really impressed with how much that narrative branches. And that, in a lot of ways, that game is a movie where occasionally you have to press a button to pick a path, right? It's not, and that's very generalist. I'm oversimplifying some things that are happening there, but for the most part, that's what's happening. That's what's going on. I was getting somewhere with that.
But the small decisions in that game,
yes, the smallest decision made a difference. Maybe not all the way up to the end, but like how you get to the end and what all this happens. So it was very, very complex, and I really, really enjoyed that.
That game didn't get enough credit.
It really, well, looking back, I absolutely agree, and it's a shame that it didn't get more recognition and credit than it did.
Yeah. I was always blown away with it. I loved my time in that game, and now seeing like that apparently it's not as easy as a loved developer just kind of showing up and saying, hey, yeah, we're going to revolutionize storytelling.
Right.
And then, like the games like Detroit Become Human, they're special. They are very special.
They are. I was hoping that Cyberpunk would be that, but with like a lot more interesting action gameplay.
And length.
Yeah. and length. I don't mind the game's length. I mean, I spent, because I did everything. I did every mission before I finished the game.
Yeah.
I felt like it was as long as it needed to be. I didn't think
I have no issues with its length. I just fell out of it because I just kind of got to the point where I didn't get bored. Like I was still enjoying myself.
Right.
But it was just kind of like, I'll maybe revisit this once they've done some more fixes, and because it is one of those games that is gonna result in, hey, come back to Cyberpunk. We've made it not suck.
Here's some DLC.
You know?
Here's bows. Here's cyber bows. And I'll be like, oh man, I'm back. Yeah. So I don't know. In general, I've been a little disappointed. I am curious to see. So just again, I'm not going to get super into spoilers, but I'm doing this live stream playthrough, basically to fix one major mistake that I made. There's a certain character who dies in the story. And there's a very specific when they die, you don't really know what happened exactly to them. But there's a moment where Johnny looks up at you and is like, come on, we've got to go. And your character's like, but what about this person? We've got to save him. And Johnny's like, he's gone. We've got to save ourselves. And Johnny starts to run out the door. In every other situation where you've been faced with a choice in the game, or if there's like an optional objective, the game will present you with objective and then a secondary objective with an optional in parentheses. Nothing appeared for me in that. And so I kind of looked around to see, like, is there another exit I can go through? Like, can I go the opposite direction of Johnny to save this person? And none of that was available. So I was just like, cool, we can't do that. Apparently you can. You just have to know how. It's not let me go do this thing. So, and I've learned now that I'm doing a second playthrough, there's several things that are completely, there's no objective, there's no reason you should find them on your own. You just kind of have to know that they're going to be there. There's this sword that I have, that you get in that heist where you get the relic that has Johnny on it.
Yeah.
It's basically, the way you get it is you go the opposite direction of the objective, and you'll find it. It's just like, oh, okay, great, thanks. But anyway, all that said, like I'm disappointed in Cyberpunk, but I've still enjoyed my time with it. And I do think the endings that you get are really, really interesting. And I think, like I said, I do have like two favorites that I kind of go back and forth between. But I wish more of your choices had mattered. In the end.
It's Mass Effect 3 all over again, because Mass Effect 3 hit so much controversy because in the end you had like 3 different endings no matter what, and the only difference really was like a color.
Yeah.
And for games that boast all this choice, developers really just haven't seemed to find a way to make them work in long gameplay driven games like Mass Effect and Cyberpunk. They just haven't really seemed to find their groove yet, to the extent that they're advertised.
Right.
But for me, like, I saw the signs pretty early on. And this isn't me boasting. This is just something that I noticed when you're going around Night City, or at least this is how it looked for me. Pretty much everyone is stuck in the same scene, to where like when you leave your apartment, for example, there's those 2 cops that are sitting at that food cart or that food stand.
Yep.
And one of them's just like, so we're not going to talk about today. And then they have this whole dialogue that's like everywhere. And so it's like the world itself isn't really dynamic that much. And so when I saw that, I was like, that's kind of troubling. Like I would have thought that these characters did things, that they moved around, that they had routines, stuff like that, like in Watch Dogs Legion, which who would have thought that the more innovative game of those two would have been Watch Dogs Legion?
That's a plot twist of the year. I wouldn't have predicted that. Kind of along that pathway, something that I started to pick up on that I think is really funny. There's a lot of copied, I guess behaviors is what you would call it. I came out of a mission once and I like got put on a phone call. And when you're on a call, you can't like double jump, you can't attack, you can't sprint. Like there's all sorts of weird things that happen when you're on a call. And so I just kind of found myself walking along this market, and I came up to a woman and a man. The man was sitting on a bench, and I think he had a cowboy hat on. And then the woman was dressed like a prostitute, but she was like crouched in front of him, like kind of, so he's on a bench, like elbows to his knees, crying, like with his face in his hands. And she is like bent down on her knees in front of him and like holding his face and trying to comfort him. And I just kind of found myself stopping and being like, oh, like what's happening here? Like this is such a weird couple. Like what's happening? And they kind of look at you for a second and then go back to whatever they're doing. But like nothing interesting happens out of it. So after noticing that, I've noticed that same action, but like it could be anywhere. Just I'll come across a guy and a girl in that just doing the exact same thing on just a random bench, and it's not like the same person. Like it's never a cowboy hat again, but it's like here's randomized person with here's randomized male with randomized female, and it's one of those things that like how like would you ever like go look at, like would you ever notice that? It's something you don't notice until you notice is what I'm trying to say. Like now that I've seen that and it like for whatever reason that those two people that I first met stuck in my brain, and now I see the problem everywhere. It's just like, why did they do it this way?
It's funny because like the amount of story and dialogue written for this game is impressive.
Yes.
But it isn't anything we haven't seen before. But on the other hand, all of the unscripted stuff, like the just kind of the world around, is less impressive than Watch Dogs 1.
Right.
Because in Watch Dogs 1, you may remember from my forward compatible streams, I just bumped into this random woman talking to this guy, and she was ranting for like 2.5 minutes. And I had never heard her before. I never saw her again. And there's all that kind of stuff, just background conversations.
Right.
And so it really is a shame because Cyberpunk, it's a fine game. It's a fine game that just happened to launch an absolute mess, according to a lot of people. Jeremy says that he hasn't hit any issues yet. He just started playing though on a PS4.
On the stream, some of our subs were talking about oh yeah, I've played on the PS4, haven't had any issues. A couple visual issues, but nothing like my game hasn't crashed. My game hasn't whatever. You can go watch my live stream of Cyberpunk on my PS5, and I think I crashed at least 5 times, probably between the two. But like for 2-hour streams to have crashed 5 times, that's ridiculous. So, but anyway, apparently some people are doing fine on the PS4. So I don't know.
It's interesting.
I guess it's possible that like some of those
you're cursed.
Well, there's that. I hadn't considered that, but that is an option. Maybe that first round of updates, maybe it really fixed the PS4 version, but not hasn't really done much for PS5. But anyway. Enough about
Jake,
Cyberpunk. Yes.
Speaking of your cursed glitches, we really need to play Avengers again and finish the Ticking Aim story.
Okay.
We really need to do that.
Okay, I'm up for that. We've put off Avengers long enough. We should get back into that.
Because Hawkeye hopefully will be coming out next month.
That would be good.
And we can actually be caught up. And the story is interesting. Like it had a lot of interesting choices. But yeah, we should do that.
Yeah. Okay, we'll have to do that. The other thing I've been playing a lot of is Hades. I actually just last night, I think it was last night. Was it last night that I texted you, Steven?
That sounds right.
Yeah. Just recently, like as early as last night, I beat Hades for the first time. And it was a complete, like I had walked away from the game for like a couple nights, and came back, just picked up the spear. And I had, is it Dionysus who's the goddess of seasons? Or Demeter? Demeter.
Demeter. It's pronounced Demeter, but they call her Demeter.
Okay.
She's the goddess of seasons and or like the chill character,
Yes,
basically.
yes. So
Nice, yeah.
I got her. She was my first boon. And I was like, ugh.
She's good. She's very good.
She's very good. But I didn't know that. So I had gotten her. I had her
told you.
before, but I got her and I was just like, ugh, this is a throwaway run. I'll just do whatever. What were you about to say?
I told you she was good.
I remember you saying she was good, but I was just like, ugh, this is one of those.
No one listens to me.
I just assumed like this is one of those things that like she's good for Steven because Steven's very strategic. And I was like, I throw my spear and make it explode. And that's the best I can do. But no, it actually worked out really, really well. I ended up getting a lot of Demeter in this run.
Yeah.
And one of the first things that I did, or one of the first things that I got was I got an effect where chill not only slows enemies, but damages enemies.
Yep.
And that was it. Once I had that, I was golden.
Yeah. That's one of the great things about Demeter is that she normally when you get like your basic attack, normally when you get a boon that gives it status damage.
Yes.
It does not increase the base damage, but with Demeter, since chill isn't inherently a damaging status effect, her basic attack gets increased damage and inflicts chill. So she is like one of the secrets to doing a good dot build. Yeah, because you can make chill decay.
Yeah. Oh, good stuff. Good stuff. I need to do that. But anyway, did that. That was a big saving grace. I had her also. What's the mode, the God mode that like you press R2?
Call.
The God call. There you go. I had hers, which like starts up a blizzard. And of course, anything that was captured in that took damage, but also had chill applied. And so I was applying a lot of chill, which was causing damage over time. And so that all worked really well. And then at some point, I've gotten. I don't know if you do this strategy, Steven, but right before you get to when you get to Cerberus, right? And you only have to go down 2 of those paths right before you find his sack of meat or whatever it is that you're feeding him.
It's Satyr sack.
Satyr sack. Thank you. When I first started playing and was making it to that stage, I just did the 2 that I had to do and I moved on. But what I've started to do now is I will play through all 5, 6 of those tunnels, basically to accumulate as much wealth as I can, to spend it at Charon's shop before I go on to take on Hades. And so I got, you've got the hammer that can appear randomly.
Daedalus's hammer. That thing's amazing.
Hammer, yeah. That can appear randomly instead of a boon or whatever. That thing's great. But in Charon's shop, there was an anvil, and I had never seen that before. So I was like, what does this do? And it was like, it's going to give you 2 items. Or 2 weapon upgrades.
It takes away 1 upgrade, gives you 2.
Right. So I was terrified that it was going to take away my spear explosion. But I was like, it's worth it. Because actually, I spec'd into backstabbing a lot. Because, you know, when you throw the spear, it goes through an enemy, stops behind them, and then you can summon it back. And so I was like, oh, I'm going to be doing... It was actually a chaos boon, I think, where it was like, for the next 4 chambers, you're not going to earn money, but then backstabbing will do 200% damage. And I was like, well, if I don't get explosion, that'll be great.
That was smart thinking.
Well, so I did that, and then I got a hammer and was like, exploding spear. And then I was like, ugh, well, now I don't have as nearly as much backstabbing as I wanted. So anyway, I was kind of like, well, if I lose it, I'll win this benefit back. But I forget it gave me two things. I forget I don't know what the other one was, but one of them turned my basic attack, which is just stabbing the spear forward, into a triple stab of the spear.
Yep.
And so
Triple jab.
suddenly three jabs were coming out of me. And it was basically like I had become a wall of attacks. And so it was great. It was great. Anyway, just was a really, really good, really strong setup. I got to Hades with all 4 Death Defiance available. So
4? You should only have 3.
Well, you have 3 naturally, but if you use the lucky tooth,
artifact,
you use the lucky tooth artifact, which I'm just saying, I don't understand how anyone could use any other artifact, because that's a free life. But whatever.
Well, the thing is, it's a free life, but Death Defiance isn't worth that much if you're coming back just to go back down again. And so, because like if you may, for me, like whenever fighting Hades, if I'm in a just pattern of getting my butt kicked, I'll come back from Death Defiance, but I only come back with like 100 health out of 300 or something like that. I'm just gonna go back down.
Yeah,
like, that's so to me, it's all about just building to stay alive, not building to come back to life, because I never come back to life well.
Gotcha. I guess that makes sense. Well, anyway, I should start playing with that in mind. But anyway,
I mean, if it works for you, it works for you, because it sounds like you got through it.
I think now that I've beaten Hades once, my next objective needs to be growing my character so that I can beat Hades more consistently.
Right.
Because even with 4 Death Defiances, I used all 4 of them.
Yeah.
And the last boon I got was a boon from Demeter, but also it was a duo boon that had Apollo.
Not Apollo. He's not one.
No, what's the girl? She's like the brains. All her.
Oh, Athena.
Athena, thank you. I knew it started with an A. Most
of them do.
It was Demeter and Athena, and basically, I forget exactly what it did or how it was worded, but basically, if you didn't have any Death Defiances, you slowly healed over time.
That's nice.
And so I was like, cool. And I think that's probably what saved me, because I beat Hades all the way through, and then he fights you again. And once I lost that last Death Defiance, I was like, okay, if I've got to run, I'll run, but I need to start fighting and get this over with. So it all worked out. But anyway, I tell you what, man, that game is so good. I've played so much of it over the holidays. It was my as I was traveling to see family and friends and stuff, that was my game. I didn't bring my PS5 with me. And so I played nothing but Hades, and it's so good. I can't get over how fun that game is, and I want to get more into the strategy of it and everything. But also, Steven, this is the last thing I'll talk about. I've finally finished Star Wars Rebels.
Nice.
Which means
we please start Mandalorian?
Which means that I'm going to start Mandalorian this week. So feel free to jump on the train. Message me once you've finished whatever episode and let me know. We can discuss from there. But
excellent.
I will be starting my Mandalorian playthrough now. What I do, the one I know you kind of were like, I've been playing stuff that we've all talked about, and you wanted to just chime in. But the one thing I do want to hear your experience of is Monster Hunter's Rise on the Switch. The demo was released earlier this week, or I guess last week for those that are watching Monday at 12 o'clock.
It broke the Nintendo eShop.
Broke the Nintendo eShop. I still haven't downloaded it. I need to do that after because I want to try it. But what
you'll like it better than World, I think.
I think I will too, because obviously the dog. So you got the dog mount. That's exciting.
Yep. He's great.
I've always loved. I want to say Palico. It's not Calico.
Palico.
It's Palico. I've always loved the Palicos. Then now you're giving me a dog, a dog mount. Like, okay, that's
And when
exciting.
you solo, you get both of them.
Interesting.
Yeah. And I don't know what happens when you do online, but I've only done solo so far, and they both were with me.
Interesting. Anyway, those are already good things. But then their last trailer that they dropped showed that apparently you can ride the monsters now.
Oh yeah.
That's
so there's
exciting.
There's this new tool called the wire bug. And you remember your like slingshot thing that you had in World that you could. So it's like that in theory, I guess.
But it's to air, right? Like I've seen people just basically web slinging through the jungle on air.
It's literally a web sling.
That's hilarious.
So with the wire bug, you get so many charges to where you can dash up, forward, all that kind of stuff. It's a very vertical game. That's one of the interesting things about it. But you can also use your wire bug to mount a monster. And literally, it's like you're driving them as a vehicle. You can do different moves and stuff. And so you could find a monster that wandered into your fight, knock it over, and then hop on top of it and play a game of chicken with another monster.
That's really cool. Like, I can't wait to see what people do with that.
So, and this is the thing about Monster Hunter that, like, even I have not really gotten it yet. But Monster Hunter is one of those games that has a lot of complexity. But when you get it, you can do so many crazy things. Like in World, I eventually got to the point to where I was good with the insect glaive. The insect glaive became one of my favorite weapons. And I was flying every single fight. I was just in the air constantly. And there's just a lot of finesse that is required to be good at Monster Hunter. But once you get good at it, it's so good. And the hunting horn is another great example. The hunting horn has me written all over it, right?
You didn't like it as much in World, right?
It's so slow. Like that, because I'm not good at Souls-like games. When it comes to having to time your combos and your swings and everything with the movements of the enemy, I'm not good at that. I've got too like I'm a methodical person, but not when it comes to like combat. I need to have motion because I'm more about positioning than I am about timing. I think. And so the hunting horn, you not only have to play certain notes to cue up different songs, but it's also so slow. And the monsters are so fast. So I could not use it in World because I was just not good enough. But in Rise, it seems a little faster and easier to pull off songs. So I'm interested in if I'm going to be able to run Hunting Horn in Rise. But it feels good to play. It's basically Monster Hunter World, but on a Switch, which is nice. There are obviously some limitations, like the graphics aren't as good. The maps probably aren't as big.
But in the trailers, the thing I kept thinking to myself is like, this looks like, it feels like to me, maybe this isn't a good comparison, but like, it feels like Legend of Zelda, Twilight Princess versus Skyward Sword, if that makes sense. Because like,
I never played Skyward Sword.
Or even Breath of the Wild. Twilight Princess tried to take a very, and this is funny to say, even though it is still like a CG animated game, like they tried to make it more realistic looking and feeling. And then Skyward Sword was like, no, we need to standardize this, and like we can't have Toon Link and Twilight Princess Zelda Link running around. So let's meet in the middle somewhere and make him still an adult, still like look like a person, but he's a cartoon. He's more obviously a cartoon. And so I almost feel like that's what this game, the Monster
is embracing
Hunter,
the madness of Monster Hunter.
Yeah, like I don't know, like even like some of the Palico stuff I've seen, it's like this looks just like World, but it's just not as realistic, maybe. No, I think that's a great analogy to say.
It's a lot more anime.
Like World.
But in a good way.
Yeah.
I really hope, and maybe what it would take is just, I don't know, you playing World again, just giving it some time. I don't know, to just kind of learn the nuance of Monster Hunter, or watching videos, or just something.
Yeah.
Because Monster Hunter is one of the most satisfying games to play, because it's got such a learning curve. But when you learn it, it's just so cool. Because like watching Brody, for example, who is just a beast at Monster Hunter, watching him use the hammer, go up to a giant like earthquake bone dragon, crack its skull in, and then mount on top of it and give it a concussion with like a bug that he shoots into its head, he would make it charge into the wall, making it fall over. Like all that kind of stuff is crazy.
Yeah.
It's one of the most like rewarding combat systems, just because of how much it does depend on what you know to do.
Yeah.
But it's also a game that heavily rewards build concepts,
right?
Which is where I excelled.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the things that turned me off of World. And part of it is my timing of getting into it, right? Like I was jumping in where like I'm still learning the basics of like where to go, who to talk to. And you and Brody had like these custom armors that like you had killed, as you called it, an earthquake bone dragon. You had killed something and made this sick armor, and it was just like, oh, that's so cool. Or like I'd see TikToks of people who like they had Geralt's armor or skin or something. Yeah. And it was like, oh, how do I do that? Oh, I'm still stuck in this tutorial. So I'm gonna give Monster Hunter Rise. I'm gonna play the demo because as I understand it, that carries over.
It does not.
Oh, it doesn't?
No. And this is the thing that makes me hesitate in telling you to play the demo, because the demo, it's basically like the World demo, to where it gives you like, you pick the weapon that you want to use and then you do one of like 3 hunts.
Okay.
But it does not teach you how to play the game.
I mean, I remember the gist of it. Of like you're trying to attack. Well, I don't know. I'm gonna have to try it anyway, see if I like it better. But I want to give Monster Hunter another try. I want to give it an honest try. And I think having the Switch version may be the thing to do it. So,
right.
Anyway,
I think I'm looking forward to it. We'll have to play it together.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching this episode of Chortle Cast. We do hope you've enjoyed it. We hope you've enjoyed being on Chortland for the Chortle Cast. I hope you've enjoyed this little bit of Animal Crossing. If, in all seriousness, if you did like this, please let us know. Comment, whatever. If you want to join our Discord, there's a link to that in the description of this video. That's a great way to keep up with us all the time. But please let us know if you liked the being an Animal Crossing thing. This may be, we may continue to do this. If not consistently, or like if not a new permanent thing, like we may do this every now and then or something. But I don't know. If you like it, we may do it constantly. So we'll see.
Yeah.
What was I gonna say? I was going somewhere with that.
This week.
I gotta tell you, we hope you've enjoyed the podcast. And if you did, there's a couple things you can do to help us out. Number one, if you're watching on YouTube, you're already at chortlegames.com. You can like this video, share it with friends, subscribe to the channel. We're almost to 1,000. We're so close. Please subscribe. If you want to watch on Facebook, you can go to @ChortleGames on Facebook. The podcast goes live there every Monday at 12 o'clock Central Standard Time. If you are an audio listener, you can go to Apple Podcast and listen to us there. If you hate watching things on YouTube or Facebook, we also stream on Twitter, which is @ChortleGames on Twitter, and twitch.tv/Chortle_games. My brain broke. I had to make sure I was saying twitch.tv/Chortle_games. I still don't really know if that's what I said the first time, but that's what I meant. So here we are. Anyway, and yeah, like I said earlier, you can get to if you want to join us on the Discord, you can get to that in the description of this video, and go from there, of course. So, yeah, this has been fun. Thanks, Steven, for going along with my crazy idea, and stylizing your Animal Crossing character. Appreciate it.
course.
Of course. Yeah, this was fun. This was a lot of fun. So
This was.
thank you. Oh yeah. We live stream every throughout the week. Normally we live stream on Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays. This week we are going to be doing that. That is the schedule: Thursday, Friday, or Saturday, or Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. What is the game that's coming out, Steven, that you're so excited about?
This Scott Pilgrim versus the World re-release is coming.
That's coming either Thursday or Friday. We, as we're sitting here, we can't remember which one it was. So Steven is going to live stream that game when it launches, either Thursday or Friday. And then Friday or Saturday, Steven and I are going to play Avengers, try to do some more of that Kate Bishop stuff. And then whatever day we don't do Avengers, I will continue my Cyberpunk Corpo playthrough. So
Nice.
Lots of exciting things coming down the pipe at Chortle Games this week. So be sure to tune in. Be sure to see, come to the live streams. Again, let us know if you liked Animal Crossing for the podcast. I thought it was fun.
This was fun.
It was fun. So anyway,
I like that my phone is green. My real phone is also green.
I like that your phone is green. You know, you can do the custom designs and
no.
Okay, geez, I'm just trying to help you out. I'm trying to inform you about things.
Okay, what can I do about the custom designs, Jake? Go ahead.
You can make a custom design like my phone. Whoops. Let me filter through all these filters now. My phone, if I pull out my phone real quick, it's got the Chortle Games logo on it.
Oh, that's cool.
So you can.
Mine's green.
You can do all sorts of stuff there. Mine's green. All right. Well, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning in. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.